welcome. Welcome to episode 38 of the Mind and Muse Crafts podcast. I am your host, Caroline, and as usual, I am coming to you from the island of Puerto Rico in the Caribbean, where I live with my husband. And every once in a while, every 2 weeks, I come back to this channel and I share with you the crafty part of my life. So this is majorly a crochet podcast, where I also share with you some projects from other crafts such as felting, knitting, sewing, or any other craft that I dedicate my time to during these previous 2 weeks. So I would like to welcome back my returning viewers. Thank you for coming back and sharing time with me every 2 weeks. It's good to know that there are people out there that are as anxious to get back to me as I am to share with you. And if you are a new viewer, well, I also want to thank you for pressing that watch button and for joining me this morning. It is morning for me because today is Monday, December the 9th, and it is about maybe 10:15 in the morning. I once again tried to get an early start, but, well, this is early for me. I guess that's not so important because you will not be seeing this today at 10 o'clock in the morning, but it always astonishes me how early I get up with a proposal and how much time it takes me to run around and to get myself ready for sharing with you. Maybe I shouldn't put so much brain power into it. Maybe I shouldn't think about it so much and I should just get it done. But that's the way I am. I always have to overthink things before I do them. So how have you been over these past 2 weeks? I have been well, and I have so much to share with you because so much has gone on during these previous weeks that it's been kind of a build-up for the Christmas season. As you know, I traveled for what in the United States is the Thanksgiving holidays. That the last week of November, I traveled to Florida to visit with my daughter, Clarissa Beth, who now lives there. She is the host of the Crochet Cakes podcast, if you don't know her. And you can also look that up. At some point, we shared a screen together, but then she moved, and so we are now split-screened. And I spent my Thanksgiving holiday with her. We got in on Wednesday, and everything was fine. With the flight, we had no problems. We usually rent a car in Orlando and drive out to where she lives. And she had to go to work, so we saw each other like for 5 seconds while she said goodbye and went off to work. My husband and I spent the day in the house, and we were just helping her prepare for the Thanksgiving. And in the afternoon on Wednesday, I received a surprise when the doorbell rang, and my husband called me out because there was a strange car parked in the driveway, and he couldn't see anybody there. And I went out, and it was a Mustang, a black Mustang, a convertible, and the hood was down, and I couldn't see anybody, and I walked around. And lo and behold, behind the car was hiding my son and his wife. And so we had extra company. We had a visit from my son and his wife. They shared Thanksgiving with us, and that was a wonderful surprise. It was so nice of him to do that. Of course, he always likes to arrive by surprises, so I didn't have any lunch made up for him, and they had to go out and eat lunch and things like that. But it was still a great surprise, and we had a great Thanksgiving together with lots of food. I didn't do any Black Friday shopping at physical stores because we were heading early to St. Petersburg, which is a couple-hour drive to from her home to St. Petersburg. And so we wanted to leave early and get there early, look around, be able to walk around, get into our hotels. And we rented a hotel in a very nice little inn called the Inn on 3rd. It is a house that they have made into an inn, but it's been there quite a long time. I think it's been there, at least the current administration has been there for more than 14 years. And it's cozy. It's got a couple of rooms. Doesn't have a lot of rooms, maybe 10. And the rooms are not gigantic. They're small and they're very clean. And they have the necessary, like your bed, your television. They've got a refrigerator. I thought it was very nice. Obviously, it's got, well, not obviously, but it does have a bathroom in the, as part of the room. And it was a very nice, quaint little place where we left our things, and then we went downtown St. Petersburg with my son and his wife. They were traveling there too. They had made the arrangements to travel with us that day, although they stayed at a different hotel because he didn't want to ask me where we were staying, because he didn't want to tell me that they were coming. So they stayed in downtown St. Petersburg, a lot closer to the actual event that we were going to attend that evening, which was a Christmas event where they have used the ballpark that's in Tampa, and they have set it up as a maze, and you just walk through it. You walk through it. They give you a task, which is to find all the Santa's reindeers, and so each reindeer is set up in a different location of the maze. So basically you walk around the maze looking for the reindeer and also looking at all the lights. There was on the site, it did say that at one point that you would walk through artificial snow, but that didn't happen. There was only snow at one particular spot. I believe it's when you found the last reindeer, and then there were there was a little flakes, small flakes that fell around, but it was like, what's happening? Snow is falling. It wasn't as snowy as the site explained. So, well, yeah, it was a nice event. If you've got family, children certainly would have enjoyed it. I did find it quite expensive. The entrance fee was probably 30 something, and they did have a Christmas market within, in which you could buy gifts or you could buy food. And Clarissa and I went around together, and we wanted to share this experience that we would probably never share again in our lifetime. And we wanted to experience the whole thing, the purchasing little gifts from homemade sellers and whatnot. So, but one of the things that caught our attention was the cheese. Now, I don't know if it was Clarissa, I don't know if it was me. I did stop by, gave us he was nice enough to give us little tastes of small pieces. There was some delicious cheese there, but Clarissa wanted to buy, and now this cheese was $40 a pound. Now, I had never purchased $40 a pound cheese in my life, so what we did, I asked him what was the smallest amount of cheese he would sell for us, and he said 4 ounces, so we did get that. And the next day we were visiting one of my son's nephews, who also lives near, on our way, actually it was on our way back home, so we stopped along the way to give him a visit, and we shared our $40 cheese with them. In addition, we shared passion fruit flavored beer. What's that called? I'm not a beer person, but I know that artisan beer has a name that I can't remember right now. But we also shared a jug of that with them that Edison, Clarissa's husband, had purchased the day before in St. Petersburg. So all in all, it was a lovely Thanksgiving weekend of sharing, just the way Thanksgiving should be. My husband was very happy, and with everything that we had been able to share, and so we had a great time. And we were back in Melbourne on Saturday evening and off back to Puerto Rico on Sunday. So we had a great time. Now on the Sunday, I did go to make a couple of yarny purchases at Joann's. It wasn't a small business Saturday, but I didn't buy anything from a small business because we didn't have a lot of time. So we just went there, and that's where I did some purchases that I'm going to share with you in a moment. This morning, then, I am going to share with you my first section, which is always Walking the Talk, a section in which I try to share with you how and when I wear some of the things that I have shared with you on this podcast. For example, today, you can't see it because, well, because it's not in my recording screen, but I am wearing a pendant that I'll try and just take a picture and snap it in later on. But you have seen this before, because probably about a year ago, about this time last year, I was making Christmas pendants. And here, let's see if at least from far away, but you can see that it is a snowman pendant. It's nothing more than a long head pin onto which I have placed this heavy glass bead. Let's see, it's got a flat ring here, and then another probably calstone, although it does look a little bit opaque, but a gemstone bead, another flat hematite bead, and on top of that I've placed a connector, it's probably also a cylinder connector. So in the long run, it ends up looking like a snowman. So like I said, I'll just pop in a picture here so that I can share that with you again. And I'll try and, if I remember, to put up a connection to the podcast where I actually shared this, if you're interested. Okay, and I like to pair my very long necklaces with very short necklaces, so I'm also wearing a piece here, but that was gifted to me by one of my children some time ago. Moving on then to the crochet and other crafts part of this podcast. I will begin by sharing with you some of those projects that have reached the end of the line. Some of those projects you have seen before, some of them are new. I think most of them are new, but it's okay. I got 2 weeks, and in those 2 weeks, I have had to make a lot of things. But first, let's start off by saying that projects that have reached the end of the line, some of them that you have seen, and some of them that were made with the yarny bits that I purchased. Well, the first one I'll share with you is the vest that I am gifting my daughter. I'm going to go down here for a minute and get it. Now, you have seen this one before. It's been living in one of the largest bags that I have that was made for me by Clarissa Beth. And it's a good bag because I can take it as a perch and put my wallet in it if I'm going somewhere with a big project. This project was a kit purchased from Lion Brand. They had 40% off, and I went and I purchased this. Because I always like to give my children things that I think they can't buy at a store. And so I wanted to make this vest. It's called the Faux Fur Vest. I've showed it to you before. I was using this yarn, which is the Faux Fur. Go for Faux of Lion Brand. This is the colorway Chinchilla. And so I was using a 9mm hook. No, it's not 9. No way, it's 9. It's a 11.5mm hook it's a bamboo that I also purchased as part of the kit. And the designer, suggested what was the hook that she was using, and so I purchased it, and it was very comfortable, very nice. The yarn just glided right off of it, and it's ergonomic. You can hold on to it here if that's the way you crochet. Fortunately, I crochet weird, so I can't take advantage of that stuff. But I had this much left over and one more ball from the kit, one complete ball and this left over. And I was making the extra large version because I thought the vest was cropped. It looks long at the front, but that's because of the way that it is designed. That front panel is going to like hang. But Let me see. I don't know if there's some other picture here. There might not be. No, there's no other one here. But if online, there are several in her. This is a pattern by, I haven't mentioned it, but I have mentioned it before, but I'll repeat it here. Mama in a Stitch. It's a free pattern. So the pattern you can actually go and get from mamainastitch.com. And there she has her free patterns. And this one has a couple of other photos where you can actually see more of the back. Though I would have really wished that there would have been a picture where you actually could see the back, because the only problem that I had with this was that first of all, I wanted to make it longer, so I did mine in 50 stitches instead of 36 that I believe she uses. And then the back part, she has 15 rows at the front because this is done vertically, I guess. I mean, you do it horizontally, but the design is vertical. I don't know if you understand what I'm saying. But if I look at the piece, for example, my crochet lines go up and down. They don't go from side to side. That's what I mean. So this panel at the front has 15 rows. And then you've got 2 rows here to make the sleeve opening. And then she did 15 more rows to the back before she started the other side. Now, my mathematical thinking got to me and said, well, you have the same amount of rows here as you do up front. How is that going to cover your back if the front is only supposed to go halfway over your front? I guess, taking in consideration that women have boobs, and so it's going to go over that. Well, it didn't sound right to me, so I mentioned last time that I wrote to her, and she said, well, if I wanted to, I could add more rows. So I did add more. I believe mine has 25 rows in total. Hey. And then I did the front. And so I could try it on, but it's not going to look anything like the way it's supposed to look because it's about 3 sizes too small. I mean, 3 sizes too big. So it'll have a little, I guess it'll fold over a bit there. And then you'll see how these parts just hang like that, making the front look longer. But I do see that mine opens up a lot more than hers does. But the back, let me see if I can get this way. You can see, I hope there's room in the back for an extra large person. I don't know. But anyway, this was totally done without knowing if it's actually going to fit my daughter. Because, well, she's not around. She lives in the States, so this is going in the mail. But that's why I had to finish it for today, because I'm a little bit late in sending out her Christmas gift, but it's going to go in the mail. Now, I haven't woven in the ends, because if it doesn't fit her, then she can send it back and I will just rip it out and repurpose the yarn. Or if the adjustment is easy, then, the adjustment, like making the back wider, is not so hard. I would only have to take out this one panel. I don't know. I compared it to a blouse that she had left here, and though I know that's not the same garment, it seemed to be wide enough. But I did leave these out. Now, I'm hoping that if it does fit her, she'll be able to weave in those ends so that she can use it. It's got 2 ends only. This one I left like that. This is where it actually ended. I didn't pull it through in case I have to rip it back. And this is the other one, because there was no way that I could successfully, I felt, hide the ends. So I did small magic knots, which is something I do frequently in my crochet. Maybe that's why nothing has ever fallen apart yet, but who knows. It might. So I just did my magic knot every time I joined a new ball, and so that's it. It's kind of hard to show. I don't know what a picture will look like, but it is complete and it is going in the mail, because that is a Christmas gift and it needs to be there before the 25th. Well, that's my number 1 project that you had seen before. My second make that I'm going to share with you is something that I knew nothing about its existence until my daughter wrote to me and asked me if I could make for her something called the Totoro. Something called the Totoro. Now, I didn't have any idea what it was, but this is my old adult daughter asking me to make her a toy. You got to run and do it. I mean, how many opportunities in your life will you have an adult son or daughter request that you make them something, first of all, and second of all, it's a toy. Everybody needs joy in their life, and I'm always getting on her case about she needs to enjoy her life more. So yes, I went running to, well, purchase a kit on Amazon. My Neighbor Totoro is a 1988 Japanese animated fantasy film, and it tells the story of two young daughters and their father, who is a professor, and their interactions with friendly wood spirits in post-war rural Japan. It won several prizes, but one of the, one of the spirits inhabiting in the woods outside in the area where they have moved is the Totoro. So I'll let you look that up and look up the movie if you're interested in that. So I just wanted to share with you like a close-up picture that might look a little better so you could see the animal. So there it is. Now, I did not look this up. I did not look this up before I made it. I went straight to Amazon the night she told me because I knew this has to go in the mail. I need to make it quick. I'm not sure what I'm doing. And so I purchased a kit on Amazon, but I did not see that it had whiskers. And I did not see the nails on the feet or on the arms there. So this is what, also I did not see that it was gray, like gray, green, and white or something like that. So I don't know what these people were thinking when they made the kit, but let's see, here's another one. I'm also seeing now that what they call the hat is probably actually looks a bit like a leaf, which I did not look up before that either. But anyway, that's what it's supposed to look like, and here's my version. Not that bad. Not that bad. Just a bit off. It's got its little tail at the back. It's got its little feet at the bottom. And it's got arms. And so, yes, now that I'm seeing it, maybe before I sent it off, maybe I might add the whiskers. Maybe. So that is needle felted, but I didn't invent it. I didn't invent it. It was a kit on Amazon. Cool Beans Boutique. They sold this kit. And so the reason I made it the colors that I made it was because those are the colors that they included in the kit. And I figured, well, if they're including those colors, that's because that's the color it's supposed to be. But had I looked it up before, I could have made it in the colors more closer to this because I have those colors in my stash. But that's okay. I made that using this needle felting kit. I mean, I've purchased kits before, and I know that these instructions that come with it are not very detailed, not detailed enough for somebody doing this the first time. So, but since the shape was pretty simple, I thought I could manage it. But I looked on YouTube, and on YouTube, I'll put in a link below to a video that I found in which I believe it is a Japanese crafter. He goes through the whole process of making the Totoro in the video. It's they don't speak, there's no words, it's music on all the time, but watching what he does, you can get a better idea of how each piece needs to work than the idea that the instructions give you. I think it's worth it. It's free. You don't pay anything for it, and it's about 20 minutes, 23 minutes, something like that, and he makes the whole little Totoro for you. So if you are or your children are into those things, or if you want this Christmas to watch that movie with your children and you'd like them to have a memory of it afterwards, I think this is it's a good call. The kit here, since it has everything, it's got needles and they come in a nice plastic container that I like. It's got, these are protectors for your fingers that I never use. It's got a mat and all the, actually more than, if I had been used my yarn more wisely, I could have made two. I could have made two of these out of this one kit, because there's tons of the black and the green left over. The brown, since I had so much of it, I just used it, but I could have done it with less. And there's enough white, so yes, you would have had enough. Now, if you have this in your stash, or if you can go to a local store or somewhere and buy just a tiny bit of this wool batting, you could get it in the actual gray and make it look more like the movie. She doesn't watch this podcast, that's why I'm sharing it with you, but I am hoping that she will like it when she receives it, because I don't send her much more than things that I can make, because she's got a good enough job where she can purchase whatever she wants, so I try and make my little gifts a little bit more special. So that is a felting project that didn't come up for a while. I'm so happy to have done that. I've got two more projects that have reached the end of the line this week. One of them is hanging up here next to me because it's so large that I wouldn't be able, but I do notice that there's an ornament at the top of the tree that I'm going to try and show you. There we go. Because, you know, the way I'm recording, you can't see the entire tree, but there is a little shaky, but there it is. And I actually noticed after I had done it that I folded it with the fold to the back. Another version of this puts the fold of the granny square to the front, and I think that is actually the actual vintage pattern that is shared by Lisa Pine Notes on her Instagram page, and she also has a blog where she shares it. So I'm just going to pull that up for you quickly. It is saved on my little Amazon tablet. That was a gift a couple years back from my daughter, and it's great. I love it. This is Grandma's Vintage Christmas Tree by Lisa Pine Notes. And you see how I've shown you this the last time, but notice how the folds are to the front, and I put my folds to the back, because I wasn't looking at this when I put it together. I had been thinking for weeks, how am I going to put this together? How am I going to get it to stay together? Because I didn't want to commit to a specific design in which it had to go up the same way every year. And I didn't want to commit to a specific design, and yet I added dangles to it, and it's on this side already. So, well, they can be removed because they're added with jump rings, but it would be, you know, but if you forget about it for a year and you come back to it, you might not think it's too much trouble to do. So I purchased these little bells. These are little bells that I purchased from Joann's. And I'll try and do here a little close-up of the tree. So I have no idea what you were seeing there because I wasn't seeing it. But yeah, hopefully, there we go. I don't know if I'm back to my normal setting either, but okay. You've seen it, and so basically I just folded it up, and I did do stitches here and here and here, and these points of connection, I did a couple of stitches to put it together. I made them large so that in case I wanted to take this apart at another point, I could do that easily. It's temporarily taped to the frame with double-sided tape, so it won't be up there until next year. I don't even think it might not even last the whole Christmas because it's so humid here that that tape tends to lose its stickiness. But this is in the room where Clarissa will be staying when she comes back for the Christmas holiday this year. She's staying in her old room, so I've tried to decorate that a little bit, and this is one of the decorations that will go on the wall. I didn't want to put a whole tree in there, which she probably would have liked a lot, so I just put this one up. So that is a vintage, my granny's vintage Christmas tree by Lisa Pine Notes. And you can find her on Instagram, you can find her on Ravelry, or you can search her blog. And it's a free pattern. It's actually not a pattern, it's actually a description of how she creates this. And if it's to your fancy, you could go and look that up and give her some love this Christmas season. So you did see that one before. And the last project that I want to share with you, the last end of the line project that I want to share with you this morning is, what would I call this? Maybe a sequel to my experience with the doily exchange. The doily exchange ended, I believe, well, you know, there was a time period from November 1st to December 1st trying to motivate people to get their doilies done so that between the 1st and the 15th they could be sent out. We're coming up to the 15th this week, so I know I sent mine out, and hopefully everyone else has also. I tried to get them to write back to me so that I could keep account of who's sending out. Some people have, some people haven't, but hopefully by this week everyone will have sent out their doilies. And so I wanted to make another doily for Christmas, but I wasn't sure if I would have the time. But one of the viewers of this podcast, if you look at the comments of the video where I first talked about my desire to make doilies and the doily exchange idea, one of the viewers from this podcast mentioned that she liked to turn doilies into rugs. So I looked up doily rug patterns and I found one. Let's see. I found one, well, there are thousands of them, but one that I found that I thought was nice, that it wouldn't be too difficult, and that I could make it in a small amount of time, was this one called the Giant Doily Rug. Found at craftpassion.com. There it is. So you can appreciate how you could easily make that into a doily for your table top or something like that. I believe it is made to be a poinsettia, which is one of my favorite flowers at Christmas time because all the houses are full with them here. I wanted to make it in red because, maybe I'll insert here another video or a photo. I was preparing the guest's bathroom where I had purchased at a local craft activity. It was one activity that we during November, at the end of November, we celebrate here the Discovery of Puerto Rico, which is on the 19th of November, and most of the towns and their plazas have these little fairs where artisans come and sell what they've been making. And there was one lady selling crochet projects. She had a set for the bathroom, one to cover the tank, one to cover the toilet seat top, and then she had another one to cover the toilet paper roll. So I purchased that set there, but I wanted the rug. So I made a rug. I wanted it in red because I thought it would look better if it was entirely red. But the red that I had in my stash was more or less maroon more than red, Christmas red. So I purchased some cotton and some acrylic, and I put them together. I held them together. So here I've got 4 strands because on her site she has the pattern for free on, I mentioned, craftpassion.com. She uses, what is it called? cotton rug cord or something like that. And she says you could also use the bobbined cord for macrame. She doesn't mention how thick though. She just, I guess when you go and purchase this cotton cord, it just comes in one size. I don't know because I haven't done it. But the macrame string, I know that comes in various sizes. But that is expensive. This needed, I think she said 1,400 feet, which turned out to be about 466 yards, give or take. So, but I was at a local crafting store here, and they had this yarn from Brazil. It was a cotton yarn. It was worsted weight cotton, which is usually the only worsted weight that I see here is sugar and plum. One of those, 100% cotton. But this was a big spool of it. It was 494 yards. So I thought it would be a bit more than what I needed. 100% cotton. It's not mercerized or anything like that. And so the colorway has a number 3501, if that interests anybody. So I purchased a big roll of this and 2 small rows of Red Heart Soft in the colorway Really Red. Now Red Heart Soft didn't exactly have the yardage. I think it's 256 yards. And so if I put 2 together, oh yes, that was over 512, something like that. So I figured, oh, that here, if I'm needing 466, but that was 466 yards of this very thick yarn. Now, what I did was I took the big ball of cotton, I divided it in half. And I joined it with the 2 strands of the Red Heart. And something strange happened, right? Well, I got this color, which is very red, but it's got a little bit of depth to it because the Red Heart and the cotton are not the same. This is a strand of cotton. I don't think I have any. Well, I don't have any of it left. Where did I run out of cotton? I ran out of cotton for the border. I was 2 rows short because they've got 1 border of single crochets and then there's 1 border of slip stitches in the back loop only. So it's a 2 row border pattern, but I ran out of yarn halfway through the first border. And I also decided that since I'm not going to have for both borders, I think I want to do a crab stitch. So I did a crab stitch border because you'll know if you've been a member of this community for a while that I love crab stitch borders. I just love the way it looks. I think it looks very finishing. I think it was appropriate, but I also ran out of my Red Heart. I had divided in 2 balls. I had 2 balls. For some reason, one of the balls must have had more yarn than the other because I ran out of one. So what I did was I took the strand that was left and I joined it with this yarn, which is also a Red Heart yarn, but it's like a deeper red. And that gave me for the other half of the border. But now I've got this rug that I like a lot. It's very heavy. The cotton in it makes it very dense and heavy, so it actually sticks to the floor. It doesn't wiggle around that much. I'm always afraid of slipping on rugs. But you could put a backing on it. On each of these big yarn sections, on leafy sections, you could cut out a piece of rug backing and tape and glue it to the back. But I don't like to do that because when you wash it, the backing comes off. So I tried that once and that didn't work. But now I've got half in the border in one color and half the border in another. So I left it like that just to show it with you. just to show it to you, to share it with you this morning. But I am inclined to rip it back because I do have some of this left. I'm thinking that, that I shouldn't do that. Okay. Shouldn't do that because I have it here. Well, look, I had this much left of the red heart with love on one of the balls, and the other ball ran out. And I've got this much left of this one. I'm thinking I have enough to make the whole border. So I'm going to rip it back, and I'm going to make my whole border. Hopefully you'll agree with, well, I have no choice because I don't have enough to make the border red. But I thought about making it green, but I don't have, well, I do have green like in DK, but I need to have, if I want to make it nice and thick, I only have one of these balls. I don't think that would be enough. And I think I have some, yes, I have this green, like a, I don't know, foresty green or something like that. But this is all I have. So that would only be enough for half of the border. So my inclination is to rip it back and to use this one with the red and just make that border, because I think that border looked really nice. What do you think? Let me see if I can get up both borders. Yep. This is the half with just the red border, and this is the half with that reddier red border. I like that one, so I think I'm going to just rip it all back and make the whole border in this reddier color. So this needs a great steaming. This will not lay flat. I don't know how it works with the cotton cord, but with this cotton acrylic blend, I'm pretty much, I could say it's 50-50 because it's got 2 strands of acrylic worsted and 2 strands of the cotton worsted, so I'm pretty sure I can call it 50-50. But this one, I thought because it's got that 50% cotton in it, I would be able to steam it and even, you know, get the steam really close to the stitch without melting the acrylic. And so this was steamed. It was steamed and steamed and steamed until it was laying flat enough on the floor, and I just love it. I just think it's wonderful. I like it a lot. I'm very glad that I made it, and I'm going to look up some other patterns to see if I can find something that is not, even though I think that if I hadn't made it in red, you might not realize that's a poinsettia. You might think it was something else. It was some other different type of flower. So I'm pretty sure if you made it in yellow or something like that, it would not look like a poinsettia. But yes, I want to make a couple of more rugs. It's just a doily. It's a doily pattern turned into a rug. And so how fantastic is that? You can have a doily on a table and you can have it on the floor out of the same pattern. So very happy with that. I like the thickness. I like the heaviness of it. Clarissa had made a similar rug for the bathroom. It's the one that I use most in the bathroom right now. But it was out of, I think it was 3 or 4 strands of chunky or bulky acrylic. And so, but it's still not as heavy as this. So the cotton really makes the difference. And I'm really glad that I did that. So that was a make. You see that I haven't woven in the ends because I want to take out that edging. But if I didn't take out the edging, it would have been a finished project. So I am talking about it here, and I will not present it again on this podcast because it's finished. It's done, and it's going to move to its resting place for the next couple of weeks. So those are the projects that I was able to complete this week, and I think, well, that was a lot of crochet. I made that rug almost twice. And the next projects that I'm going to share with you have also been ripped apart and remade several times. I told you that I did make a quick trip to Joann's because I was looking for a specific yarn. I had seen on the tlycrafts.com blog and on her Instagram feed, I had seen a project that a new pattern, a free pattern that she had worked up for this season, and it was done using one of those loopy yarns. So it's called the Last Minute Scarf, I want to see if I can get an actual picture because the okay, here's a set of three that I might give you an idea. All right. And so basically it is hand knit because it is made with this loopy yarn that, here's another photo of. And this loopy yarn is Bernat Ali's Easy Wool. You can find it at Joann's, and in this week it was on sale. Had like about 40% off. It was a great thing. And this Easy Wool comes in a lot of colors, but when I was there, it wasn't, I think it only had a 25% discount, and it was still coming out to about almost $10. You need 3 to make the scarf, and well, that was going to be $30 on just a whim because I wanted to try it out to see how it worked up, and of course I would gift it to someone because it's going to be a finished project. But I wasn't sure that I wanted to spend $30 and then maybe the project not work out for me for some reason, whatever. Maybe they would have, it would be, I tried it on my neck and it was a bit scratchy, but that is usually the case for me with these blends that have polyester, rayon, and maybe 10% wool. I've normally, since they're not limiting their wool to the merino, normally I will be a little bit sensitive to that yarn. I don't know, but it does happen. So I did try it and kind of convinced myself that no, I'm not going to get it because I'm going to be too sensitive to it and I won't be able to use it, or maybe the person that I want to gift it to will be too sensitive and won't be able to use it. Anyway, I did not buy that. I bought a competitor. So just to try out the idea, I purchased this Off the Hook yarn, which also had the 25% off, plus there were 2 additional coupons that I could use, so it did turn out to be dirt cheap for me. But this is 100% polyester. It's nowhere near, it doesn't have the drape, it doesn't have the texture, it doesn't have, it doesn't produce the same fabric by no means as the the Bernat Easy Wool. It doesn't produce the same fabric as the Bernat Easy Ali's Wool blend does. But I just wanted to try out the hoop, the fingering knitting. So here it is. This is the colorway that I'm using. It is grape soda. I wanted to make it in like this bluey turquoise there because the person I was thinking about gifting it to really loves that color, but Clarissa didn't let me. She said it was an ugly color. So I purchased this one, and she said that she had seen that they use these colors. It's classified as jumbo. It says you need 1 of these will make a hat, 2 will make a scarf, and 3 would make a blanket. But since her pattern said to use 3, even though this doesn't say the yardage anywhere, I really had to look all over the internet to find the yardage of this thing. But I bought 3. Even though I knew this had less than the other one, I still bought 3. So I've been looping it together. Their pattern that is on the tlycrafts.com is circular. It's done in a circle, so has double thickness. And the reason she does that is because notice that what you're doing is knitting. You really can't see it too well here because of the color changes, but you're actually just knitting. So if you were to do it back and forth, you would have knits on one side and pearls on the other. You wouldn't have one side of knits unless you purled. And since purling, it's not that it's difficult, but it is not as easy as just plain knitting. I guess that's why she did it in the round. And so on this end, here's a pom-pom, because the end is just cinched together with a matching color yarn. and then you add the pom-pom. I did not add the biggest pom-pom because they were quite expensive this weekend. I just bought the small ones, and because I was just trying out the idea. But this is the length that I have up to now. I have used 2 balls. So that's what you would get from 2 balls of yarn. If you ask me, I say it's maybe 4 feet. Okay? So if I were to put this around my neck right now, I would still think that I would be missing a bit here. So that bit that I'm missing is going to come from this ball. And I think each ball adds about 18 inches. So this will be this side of it. And if you are living in New Hampshire, or if you are living in any of those states where the winter has been terribly cold, or if you're living in Moscow, or if you're living in Finland, or any place where the winter is very crude, it would be like having a blanket. It would be like having a blanket. So you can make it out of 2 and it'll work, but I'm going to make it out of 3 because that pattern said to make it out of 3. And I haven't decided yet. I thought that this would go off as a present, but it's getting kind of late, and as you can see, I haven't finished it. But I have to say that I actually like it. I would keep it for myself. But I have nowhere to wear this. I can't wear this on the island, so why am I going to keep it? So I will gift it. And I will gift it to somebody who I think would appreciate the color. I think it would have looked fantastic in the turquoise. I think it would have. A solid color would have, you would have been able to see those stitches so well. I think it would look fantastic. So that is one of my projects that is still that I'm still pressing on with, and hopefully it will reach its end soon, because if I'm going to send it to the States, it needs to leave quickly. Now, another yarn that I wanted to see from Joann's was a pom-pom yarn. I don't know where I saw this first. I don't remember where I saw, but I saw it somewhere. And as you know, I have been working on projects this December for a MAL actually, hosted by the Quirky Monday Craftcast, whose host is Kalisha, and she is hosting the Mr. Grinch MAL. The Mr. Grinch MAL, there's also a Mr. Grinch along hashtag on Instagram. Hers is the Mr. Grinch MAL. And I somewhere saw this pom-pom yarn in that Grinchy green, and I said, oh, that would be a wonderful project for this MAL. But I also thought, well, would I actually use it? Because that green all year long, I don't know how much use I'm going to get out of it. I didn't want to make something that I wasn't going to get use out of. Says me, right? When you see the color that I actually chose. Because one of the colors that they had available in Joann's for this yarn was in clearance. It was on clearance. And it was called Quirky. And since I was doing this for the Quirky Monday podcast, I was like, oh, this was going to be great. I wanted this color. It looks, now that I look at it, it looks a little bit clowny, right? I think you'll agree with me that those are more or less the colors of clowns. But it did have this green in it, which is the Grinchy green. And I don't know. This is the project that it had on the front. It's a rug. It's a bath rug. But this bath rug is knit. Now there is a video on YouTube that will actually, I think it's by Yarnspiration. No, this is Red Heart. I don't know who it's by. But there is one on YouTube that actually shows you how to make this rug by knitting. So it's not really difficult. This one is back and forth. This one is back and forth. But you're not going to see the stitches anyway, so nobody cares if you're purling and knitting. I mean, if it's purling on one side and knitting on the other. So it's fine. the one that I chose is a free pattern. And so I was able to download it. I like things that I can download to my little tablet here because I can have it next to me and I don't have to occupy my phone. So we'll see if I picked the right one. Okay. It's called Trendy Oval Pom Pom Rug. This is Yarn Inspirations. And again, it is not necessarily a pattern, but it is a description of how you work the rug. So, to work the rug, to work with that pattern, not with the knitted one, you don't need anything additional except the yarn. This one tells you to use rug backing, and you are simply slip stitching to the rug backing. You are slip stitching to the rug backing. You start out here in the middle, some certain length, I don't know if it's 8 inches or something like that, and then it's here in the middle, here in the middle, and then you work around, go around like in an oval shape around that middle seam, and it's all with slip stitches. So you can get between 2 and 3. This is done with a 5mm hook. That's what they suggest. And with the 5mm hook, you can get between 2 and 3 stitches. And so this is what I have so far. 2 balls have gone into this. Now I purchased this. Notice this is where my yarn ended, and so this one has to be hidden, as does this one over here. This one has to be hidden. They won't hang out like that in the end. It's just that I haven't completed that step. But there are 2 balls into this one. This wasn't a complete rug backing because I had chopped a piece off of it to do another project in sometime in the past. So this is going to be cool because this is going to have the rug, it's going to have the backing at the back, and so it's more or less propense to slipping, I guess, I would think, but I don't know. I'd have to try it out. So that's what mine's looking like. This has 2 balls in it. I have already said I don't know how many times that. Anyway, the thing was that I was saying that I bought it dirt cheap because this turned out to be like $2.39 because they were on clearance. It was a clearance item, but only this color. Well, I really don't know if it was only this color because I didn't try any of the others, but on the shelf where this yarn was, they had a different pricing. But then Clarissa Smith found on the clearance shelf one of these, and we were able to get, there were actually 5. And I wasn't smart enough to take all 5. I took 4 because I had read that this one used 3 balls. And so I figured with 4, I might be able to make it a little bit bigger, but it should be enough. Or in case I wanted to use it for something else. But this pattern, that one is knit, the one that's on there. This is crochet. And this pattern turns out, this rug is going to be oval, and it's going to be a lot bigger than that one is. So this one, they said 9 balls. So when I got home and saw that it was 9 balls, and I had only purchased 4, the alternative was to tell Clarissa to purchase it for me and send it to me, but that was going to be shipping. Something like this is not going to be anywhere less than the maybe medium-sized priority package, so that's $12, $13 right there. And I had found a place on site where they also had it on clearance for $2.99. It wasn't as cheap, but it had $2.99, and the shipping was only $7.99 for the 4 balls that I needed. So I purchased it online, but I'm still waiting for it to come in. So I don't know what's happening there. I'm going to have to check. I wanted this to be done. I thought at some point it would be a Christmas present, but right now, at the rate it's going, I guess it's not going to be. But I'm very happy with it. I mean, working with either of these two. Now, the knit one that I showed you, she says you can work it up in 1 hour, but I had a very long learning curve because I kept on skipping loops on my working yarn, and 2 or 3 inches down I had to rip it back because I kept on using one of the stitches twice, so I'd have too many. I mean, it was a learning curve. Now it takes me still close to an hour just to work through one of the balls. So I improved, but I still don't think you can get it done in an hour. I don't know. Maybe it's that the other one, because it's a different type of yarn, you work up quicker. I don't know. But this also is time consuming. This one is time consuming. You're working on the back and you're feeding the yarn through the back and pulling it up. You try to keep like about an inch of distance between your pom-poms here. It's not, I don't find it quick. But it kind of like, I've kind of like fell behind because I haven't been working on it, trying to finish the other projects that I knew had to go out this week. But I love working with this. They had all the solid colors. Each of the colors that you see here also comes solid. The yellow, the red, the turquoise blue, that would have been beautiful also. So, and it's very pretty. I would have bought everything that they had in stash. Everything they had in stock. But I was lucky to be able to bring this back with me because that was a thing. I had to bring all this back to Puerto Rico. We had gone only with carry-on. So that was going to be difficult. That was going to be difficult. So, but I made it. But I made it. So that's a project that I hope to work on and hope to get done for the next podcast. By the next time I podcast, Clarissabeth will be here, and so hopefully I'm thinking about maybe doing a 12 days of Christmas, but I'm not sure whether I'll start from the 12th to the 25th, or the 12th to the 24th, or the 24th to the 6th of January. So I'm going to try that out. Let me know below if you think that's a good idea. If you would be interested in following me for a couple of days here. For example, this week I could have used a vlog because there was so much crafting going on that showing you little bits of that might have been appropriate. But I feel that maybe I could end the year also doing that, and that maybe that would be a good start for 2020. 2020, guys, it's the end of a decade. I hope this decade for you has been a good one. I know that's kind of hard to have a good 10 years, but, well, I hope that there are a lot of good things that you can think about as you reflect into this decade that has gone by. I know on my behalf a lot of things have happened, a lot of changes in my family and my professional life. Even my crafting started less than 10 years ago. So over this decade, I became a crafter, I became a blogger, and I became a vlogger. So, well, you know, lightly. All of those things lightly. So there's been a lot of change, and it'll be good at the end of December to take a couple of minutes and to look back on all of that. And hopefully, I hope it will be as good for you. So, thank you for joining me this time. And like I say, if you think you would be into sharing some vlogging with me, then let me know. And so, you know, I can get motivated to do that type of thing. It's a little bit scary putting yourself out there on such a frequent and intimate form, but I'd be willing to try if you tell me that you're willing to listen. Let me know below. Let me know below how your crafting is going. Is there any particular crafting that you are using to create gifts this year, or are you one of those Scrooges that know crafting for gifts? Because it is time consuming and it is a lot. I understand it totally. I'm not criticizing or anything. I understand where that comes from. So sometimes I feel like saying that myself, but it always gets the best of me. So until we meet again, hopefully that will be soon. Keep yourself safe. Keep yourself healthy. And try some crafting to keep yourself happy. Bye for now.